5 gunshots, in broad daylight, in front of her own home. And just like that, the most feared woman in India's criminal history collapsed in a pool of blood. They thought they killed the Bandit Queen, but they didn't kill her legend. Before she became a name that made politicians sweat and villages shiver, she was just a girl, Phoolan, born into dust, hunger and silence. Her family were Malas, a caste so low they weren't even allowed to speak up when slapped. By age 11, she was married off to a man nearly 3 times her age. He beat her, raped her, discarded her, and her village. They called it normal. No one fought for her, so she learned to fight for herself. By her teens, Phoolan had become a problem. She spoke too boldly for a girl of her status, refused to bow, refused to break. Men from higher castes tried to silence her with gropes, slaps, and smirks. She lashed back, and one day she hit a landowner with a stone. That was enough. She was dragged into custody, beaten by police, and branded a criminal. But fate wasn't done with her. She was about to meet the outlaws of the ravines. The Chambal Ravines, India's wild, lawless badlands, home to dacoits, armed gangs who robbed, kidnapped, and ruled entire regions by gunpoint. Phoolan was kidnapped by one such gang. She was meant to be a trophy, but she refused to be broken. Inside the gang, one man saw her for who she really was. Vikram Malla, a rebel like her. He protected her, trained her, loved her. Together they overthrew the gang leader. Now Phoolan was no longer a victim. She was an outlaw, with a rifle slung across her back and anger burning in her chest. Phoolan became India's most feared bandit. She robbed trains, looted rich landlords, distributed wealth to the poor. To some, she was Robin Hood in a red sari. To others, a dangerous criminal with too much pride. But in the wilds of India, she built her own kingdom, a kingdom of rage, of revenge, of justice, her way. Then came the breaking point. A rival gang, upper caste men from the village of Behmai, captured Phoolan. What they did to her wasn't just physical, it was a message. Know your place. She was beaten, humiliated, and gang raped for weeks. When they were done, they left her broken and bleeding. She vanished into the wilderness, and for 2 years, the whole country wondered, where is the Bandit Queen? In 1981, she came back, but not as a victim. She returned with her gang, fully armed, to Behmai, the same village where she was tortured. 20 men, all upper caste, were rounded up and executed, one by one. It was the largest massacre by a woman in Indian criminal history. The government called it an atrocity, but the poor, they whispered she did what no one else could. Now the entire country wanted her head. For 2 years, she evaded police, until 1983, when something unheard of happened. She negotiated her own surrender. Thousands gathered to see it. Phoolan stepped forward in a bright red sari, barefoot, holding her rifle. She handed it over, not to the police, but to a statue of the goddess Durga, a woman surrendering to a goddess. The message was loud and clear. I don't answer to men, I answer to power. She spent 11 years in prison, but the country changed, and when she came out, she wasn't a fugitive anymore. She was a symbol. She ran for parliament and won. Phoolan Devi went from raped child bride to elected member of parliament. Her enemies called it disgraceful. Her supporters? They called it divine justice. But revolutions create enemies, and some grudges don't die. On July 25, 2001, outside her home in Delhi, a man stepped out of a car, pulled a pistol, 5 shots. Phoolan collapsed on the steps. No last words, no justice. Her assassins said it was for the Behmai massacre. She had paid with bullets, not prison time. They killed the woman, but the Bandit Queen still walks in whispers. In villages, they still say her name with awe and fear. In the halls of power, they still remember her fire. She was born poor, beaten by men, violated by caste, crushed by law, and still she rose, not with permission, but with a rifle. Some call her a criminal, others call her a legend, but no one forgets her name. Phoolan Devi, the Bandit Queen of India.